Hey everybody, welcome to Fantasy Top 5. We are here with our special Thanksgiving episode. And as we told you last week, Eric is going to be out for at least this podcast due to an injury. He said something along the lines of family vacation. I haven't heard of it before. I don't know where that affects, but he is not here. So on my left, we have the beautiful Tino. He's my little brother, and he is here to fill in for Eric. He's not as in depth as Eric is with fantasy football, but he's definitely
come on now.
He's kind of beautiful. He's wearing his Steelers stuff, and yeah, we're here on the Monday before Thanksgiving. I guess I should start with we're Fantasy Top 5. If you haven't heard of us before, we do a fantasy podcast. We go over stuff you need to know for the upcoming games, stuff we saw in the games that just passed that we'll kind of go over, stuff that you should hear about. And then you can find us on, Lane's putting a bunch of stuff up in chat, but mainly we're on Twitter at Fantasy Top 5. You can tweet at us there. You can find our website at www.fantasytop5. And basically we're on Facebook, Tumblr.
Anywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. So you can find us on iTunes, any of the podcast apps you have. We should be able to get us on YouTube. So all that out of the way. Tino, looks like you're wearing a Steelers shirt, so
let's talking some shit already.
No. I want to hear your input to start with about last night's game, because I watched it actually with you, and it was a hard game to watch. Like the Steelers their defense did everything they could to stay in that game, and they got some running game going. What do you think about Leftwich? You think it was his fault, or what do you think?
No.
Right,
you don't make excuses. You don't come in here just whining and making excuses. The game's over. We lost. It sucks. We got another game in 2 weeks. You just got to get ready for it. Well, no, it's not this next game, but the game after. Well, we got another game next week, yeah.
Oh, you mean against the Ravens?
We got against the Ravens.
Right,
Come on. The Ravens games are the important ones. But
you need to win those ones in between, though, too.
For sure. But, I mean, it's rough. You can't make excuses. I don't know. Who knows what would have happened if Byron Leftwich wasn't holding his side the whole time, if Roethlisberger was in it. But it doesn't matter. The game's over. We lost. Whatever.
You think Leftwich will play next week? Like there's obviously an injury there. We don't know exactly what it is.
I don't think it's bad enough that he's going to be out, because he just kept coming back into the game. I feel like if it was bad enough to keep him from playing, they would have put Batch in during last night's game. But you never know.
Yeah, it's just some sort of rib injury.
He couldn't throw it as far as he normally can, so maybe it would be a good idea to put Batch in. Who knows?
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is it's rough when you don't have your leader there. It's rough to come out there and try to really do anything. But I think we'll see what they can do.
Leftwich did do a fairly good job, though.
Yeah.
What is like a 30-yard running touchdown?
And I think they just need a ground and pound.
And they were developing the running game quite well, but then they got away from it a little bit, which they kind of had to towards the end to try and catch up, which is just a stupid situation to be in. You never want to be in that situation. But
and that's the thing is,
he threw some good passes. That final drive, he threw some really good passes. And the one, the receiver just got completely rocked and ended up getting injured, couldn't hold on to the ball. That sucks. That's just what happens. But the ball was where it needed to be. That second to last play, the receiver was behind the coverage. He had a chance for a touchdown. If Leftwich, I don't know, it looked like he was holding his side. If he could have thrown it as far as he normally does, I feel like that's a touchdown. You win the game.
Yeah, and that's the main issue there, was that everyone knows Leftwich has got a big arm. So it's like a pass like that, they're like, I don't know if he's 100%. Well, I don't even know if he's like 80% at that point. But I guess basically they got to move on. And then hopefully they get some people back. If Antonio Brown maybe can play this week. It'll really be bad if Cotchery is out. But
it
looks like he had some kind of rapport going with Emmanuel Sanders. If Wallace, who fumbled in the game, can hold on to the ball a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know. It's not that they got blown out. So
they did a lot of things right and they did a lot of things wrong. Like I said, excuses are excuses, but we just didn't do enough. I feel like they have another 2 weeks to prepare for the Ravens' second game. They should be able to fix the problems. I sure as hell hope so, but we'll see what happens.
All right, and then also one other thing with Tino, me and him are actually going head-to-head in our fantasy league. That we are both right now, if it ended today, we'd both be in the playoffs. Tino's up on me by 11 points tonight, And
Brandon Marshall is a beast. So
Yeah.
I'm not counting on winning this game, but we'll see what happens.
going up against tough defense, though, so
49ers are great. I hope even if the 49ers don't win, I hope they at least keep him from getting any points.
all right. And I wouldn't be surprised, but he has been pretty consistent this year.
He's great.
So that's exciting. It's been an interesting week. With I've had some players do awful. So yeah, it's been rough. And you got pulled into the shenanigans of fantasy football, which is you have Schwab. All anyone ever talks about is how
Holy
Schwab
crap.
never passes anymore. The Texans are going in to Jacksonville, and everyone knows Jacksonville's terrible against the
Just a
run.
stupid
So you just assume
situation.
they're going to run and run and run. And Schwab has the 5th most fantasy points given up to
wasn't it
any
over like
player.
500 yards or something?
Yeah,
like that?
527 yards, 5
That's
touchdowns.
ridiculous.
Yeah, and he scored
I
the 5th
didn't-
most
I
points
didn't
anyone
start him.
scored all year.
And I didn't start him because they're a running team.
You started
Thinking, kid, they're playing.
RT1.
They're RT1. That's true. But they're playing a team that is just terrible,
Mhm.
and they're just an incredibly good running team. So you
Yep.
don't think, okay, he's gonna need to throw the ball like crazy and make 1 billion touchdowns to win this game. They're just gonna get up on them a couple touchdowns and then just
Mhm.
run the ball, and that is not at all what happened. I don't know why. That's just ridiculous, but
Yeah.
that just seems to be the trend. When like Tannehill was doing fine. I picked him up, started him, had the worst game he's had all season.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that was rough. And that's the thing is I'm kind of glad about it because now I wouldn't have had a chance if you would have started
I know.
Schwab. But that's fantasy football. That's the trap
excuses,
you
like
fall
I said.
into.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna jump over. Tino's gonna kind of take the lead here on some news stories. So just go ahead and
Nice.
jump into that.
Okay, so we got the newses and bruises. We're going to start out with the newses. First item. Tonight's game will feature both Colin Kaepernick and Jason Campbell because the Bears and 49ers starting quarterbacks are out.
Which is it's huge.
Yeah, that's crazy. I feel like it'll be a very different game than it would have been with the backups.
I kind of think it'll be
weird.
exciting though because
It will-
Kaepernick
it'll
runs
be-
around,
It'll be exciting.
and I think Campbell got the raw end of a lot of criticism last week.
Raiders guy.
Yeah, well, that's not. I liked him when he was on the Redskins. I think he's always
No,
been-
and I feel like he just needs consistency. Like
and he got all the reps with the first team this week. So
I don't know. Every time I've seen him like start to get consistency and start to figure out a rhythm, it's like, well, okay, we're gonna trade you to a different team, or you're gonna be the
Mhm.
backup, or I think he just needs a chance.
yeah, and I kind of agree with you on that. And that's the thing is, the one I'm kind of worried about is Kaepernick because he's a little bit different than Alex Smith, so maybe it won't affect him as much. But from everything I heard up until like just today was that Kaepernick would be not Kaepernick, Smith would be playing in this game, and so I don't know if Kaepernick got as much practicing time this week. So it should be an interesting game, and it's two defenses that capitalize on silly turnovers and stuff like that, and these two quarterbacks could have a lot of those. So it could turn into a really crazy game. I'm actually really
I hope it
excited
does.
for it.
I like just ridiculous, just all-out scrapping type football games.
And that's
where it's
in-
just nuts.
Yeah, that's definitely what this is going to be.
I hope so. All right, next we have the Big Ben situation. So the doctors think that Big Ben's going to be out about 3 weeks.
Mhm.
Obviously, the Steelers want to have him back for the next Ravens game, so hopefully that's a possibility,
Mhm.
but who knows? And like we were talking about before, Byron Leftwich hurt his ribs, so in, out, I don't know. We'll find out. I think he'll stay in just because he finished the game, but you never know. If he can't throw the ball as far as he normally does, then maybe Batch would be a good idea.
Mhm.
Also, I don't know. I like Batch. I think he's a good quarterback, but we'll see.
And he plays well with Mike Wallace. I remember those those 4 games that Roethlisberger had to miss 2 years ago. Batch played, and Batch he won some games with them. So I honestly think as well as Leftwich played, I think there's a good chance they go with Batch here, just because Leftwich was hurt in that rib injury, and it's kind of hard because he doesn't get that shot very often, so he's going to try to play through it.
And I feel like a lot of that's what happened a lot last night
Mhm.
was He finished off the game in Kansas City for him.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, they got that win there. And, I mean, he started out great in the Ravens game, got that running touchdown. He was completing a lot of passes. He actually looked pretty good. And then he got hurt, and where you're supposed to take him out and put in the healthy guy, it was more like, well, he doesn't get a chance very often. This is one of his very few shots.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a warrior, you know. Football players are. They don't care if they're hurt. They just want to go out and win a game. They want to lead their team. And I don't know, maybe he just wasn't healthy enough to do it. It would probably be a good idea to go with Charlie Batch, but I don't know. Leftwich did good when he was feeling well enough to throw the ball. So
yeah, and at this
we'll
point,
see.
I feel like it's in Tomlin's court, kind of, and I think he has to. If he plays Leftwich and Leftwich grabs his ribs once in this game and they don't, don't win, I think it looks really bad on Tomlin. So I think that's the big deciding factor.
Yeah, I mean it's rough. Who knows what coaches should or shouldn't do, but I feel like if he does start Leftwich, the first time Leftwich even winces for a second, take him out, put Batch in, you got to win games. I mean, you got to have loyalty and try and give people a shot, but not to the point where it's going to keep you from winning games. All right, moving on. Rob Gronkowski breaking his forearm in the final minutes of a huge blowout game. He's probably going to miss the rest of the season for fantasy owners, so that's just stupid.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you need him. He has carried a lot of teams in the last few weeks. He was rough in the beginning, but he's carried a lot of teams in the last few weeks.
He's
and
awesome.
You need him in your fantasy playoffs. And if you take away the fantasy part and you just go to the football part of things, this looks really bad on Belichick because, like we just really said, it was a huge blowout game. It was in the final moments of the the final minutes. He doesn't need to be in there. He already, I think, caught 2 touchdown passes, and that's the thing is when they're blowing him out, you have to be careful. He's dealt with this before. Wes Welker blew his knee out before the playoffs in Week 17 when they were already in and they were already set. And then he basically, a lot of Patriots fans, I think, would say that that's the reason they didn't make it to the Super Bowl that year.
We can't let the Patriots fans start making excuses. I mean, come on, they lost.
Yeah, but
thankfully.
that's what I'm saying is it's just like it looks really bad on coaches when stuff like this happens. So it's rough.
Yeah, it is rough, but we'll see what happens. Okay, the next item. Ken Wisenhunt benches Skelton with Arizona up 13 points. Puts in the rookie Ryan Lindley, and they lose. The Falcons come back and win that game.
Here's the thing with that, though, is I think Wisenhunt benched Skelton because they were up 13, not because of the passing game. They were running well with Stevens howling, and they were playing good defense. And I agree 100% with what he did. Skelton hasn't been consistent in the least. I think they're planning on going with Cobb when he's healthy again. And if it looks like – and Skelton was – I can't remember his exact stats, but he was just he was awful. And then you have to try to win, and they put the rookie in. I don't think it was – they're just not a full team. They're not – they went through a list of running backs. Cobb is the guy they want to be starting. And I think their defense did all they could. They got 5 interceptions on Matt Ryan, but I just think the Falcons are a lot better team than them.
No, the Falcons are an incredible team. I mean, I can't even believe that they lost the one that they did, but
yeah,
it's just a silly situation. And the last item on the news column is a doozy. Bart Scott tried to lead a mutiny and boycott the press due to a bad Tebow story.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I want to do this because we've all seen how much Tebow's played. So for a team that goes out there and wastes a decent amount of money on getting just press, which they can say what they want, but that's exactly why they did it. This is for the Jets. The Jets went out and did what they wanted. They were getting so much publicity based entirely just around the fact that Tebow's there. And these are the kind of things they wanted to happen.
It's true, but they got to get over it. Press doesn't win football games.
Yeah, and that's the thing is they're all over the place. They win games, I think they're going to lose. They lose games, I think they're going to win. And now with Gronkowski going out in that last game, it all of a sudden makes their Thanksgiving game against the Patriots look a little bit more interesting because Gronk is that guy that they are like, all right, we need a big play. He's in there. Hernandez is great, but I think Gronk has a couple inches on him, and he can get a little bit
Either
higher.
way, yeah. Either way, it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be an interesting game, but I would love to see the Jets randomly pull out a
Yeah.
win. The Patriots are doing great. The Jets are doing terrible. And if anything, I just like to see things get close.
Yeah.
I would like to see a close divisional race,
Yeah,
which would be hard to pull off right now. So the Jets need to step it up for sure.
Yeah, and the Jets, in a lot of ways, any wins, they're good at this point because of the injuries they've had, and it's kind of, in a lot of ways, seemed like a lost season. But with the news stories and stuff, it's just same old Jets. This is kind of what they do. They get in the news for all the wrong reasons.
They just need to start focusing on football instead of press.
Yeah, then true that.
I mean, attention's attention. People want attention, but no attention's better than bad attention. Okay, so moving on to the bruises section. First item, Dwayne Bowe left the game with a head injury. Whenever you see head injury, you got to assume concussion. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what else would it be, head injury. That's just a silly way to
Yeah,
put
that's
it.
usually what it is. And I think a lot of it, I think they might have went with head injury over concussion because,
They didn't want it to look so severe.
well, and also because Bo he asked for a trade right before the trade deadline. After the trade deadline passed, usually players will drop it because they're obviously going to be there. They don't want to have this bad attention. And then he's kind of still been mentioning that he really wants out of Kansas City. So I think, I'm not saying he for sure just gave up, but I think there's a chance he just got banged up, decided I don't want to play in this game anymore.
So he
And-
doesn't actually have a concussion.
Yeah.
He just
But this is
is
all
injured
speculation.
enough to get him out of the game because he doesn't want to be there in the first place.
Yeah.
All right, I can understand that. I can see that. I can
All right.
understand that. All right, next, LaShawn McCoy leaves the game with a concussion. A lot of concussions going on.
Yeah, which is big
terrible.
because McCoy he hasn't been as great as I think he should be, but a lot of that I think is Eagles have been a disappointment on kind
Huge
of
disappointment.
every side of the ball, offense, running and passing, defensive against the pass and the run. So I don't know. But this is bad because McCoy is a guy who a lot of people are counting on. He was one of the top 3 running backs taken this year statistically in fantasy drafts. So this is a big deal. Yeah. So does my wife. So yeah, it's not good if because concussion usually they miss at least a game, and
I
it's
just don't
not
understand.
Uh-huh.
They have been redoing the rules and tailoring everything to keep people from getting hurt and avoiding concussions specifically. And I've heard of more concussions since that than I had before.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is
Maybe it's just because they're making a bigger deal about it. Maybe it's I don't know.
And it's one of those things too that I think there is a lot of concussions. I think what used to be getting your bell rung is now
A concussion.
And so there's these concussions where they'll leave the game, and sometimes they'll play through. Like Cutler finished the half in their last game, even though he had a concussion through midway through the second quarter. So I think a lot of it is where the football guys would have used to have played through it. Now they're making such a big deal that they can't, which is obvious. You kind of have to do that to an extent. But sometimes a concussion is something that'll last weeks, and sometimes it'll last just a couple of days. But the thing that I don't like about it is now, and I really hope it doesn't go any further with this, but it's starting to look a lot more like the NBA lately, where a guy will go across the middle. He won't make the catch as he gets hit, so he'll drop to the ground and lay
pretend
there
to be
for a
hit.
second
I hate it. I hate it
until
more
there's a
than anything.
flag thrown. And I
That's
don't
the
think there
one
should be
bad
these
thing
late
about
flags.
basketball.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I don't want to see flopping. I don't like it in basketball. I don't like it in football.
And in basketball, it's gone so far that they've had to start making rules where if people try and flop,
Mhm.
then they get in trouble. So I don't know if the NFL needs to start making rules like that or keep a closer eye on it. But flopping's unnecessary and stupid, and everyone does it.
Mhm.
It's not like there's one team that flops all the time and other teams don't do it. Everyone does it to an extent, and I just don't want to see it get out of hand. It's just stupid.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is I don't want to say anyone is flopping. I'm just saying I think some of the times you don't always have to lay on the ground after you take a big hit and wait for a flag and then get up.
I mean, even if you are hurt, get up and get off the field. Get
Yeah.
your medical attention. Don't lay around and look for flags.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. Okay, McGahee leaves the game with a knee injury. Apparently, he tore his ACL, and he'll be out for the season. That's
That
bad.
is nasty. Yeah, that is rough because, for one, I am a strong believer in the fact that I think McGahee is a lot of what's made Peyton Manning look so good this year is because you cannot sleep on that running game. McGahee's powerful. Like they have Hillman, that rookie kid coming in, and he looked okay, but he doesn't have the power and the drive that McGahee has.
McGahee.
Yeah, and it's sad. I've liked him. I liked him when he was on the Ravens.
Yeah,
I liked it. I've liked him, and I don't like the Broncos. And I liked him on the Broncos because he's a guy who will. We just barely talked about it because of Sproul's injury. Willis McGahee had basically the same injury last year and came in with his cast and still ran all over the Raiders and then the next team they played. And then to see him get this, and it's late in his career, who knows if he'll even return. It's just kind of sad.
I hope he does, but yeah, it definitely makes it rough happening later in his career. Okay, moving on. Blaine Gabbert leaves the game with an elbow contusion.
Yeah.
I don't know how serious that is. But.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I like Gabbert, but he started off okay, and he's kind of moved. And I can't remember the last time he finished a game. Like he's been taken out of each game due to some kind of little injury. And
just repeated small injuries then?
Yeah, and then then Henne came out and he looked really good against the Texans yesterday. So I think they got to give Henne a chance. Like Henne's not that old, and I know they are wanting to get the play to be around Gabbert. And I know the Jags don't look like they're going anywhere this season, but still I think you got to try to win games. So I think they should just give Henne a shot.
Yeah, do what you got to do. All right, last item on the bruises section. Bunch of stupid concussions again. Dennis Pitta, Isaac Redman, and Donnie Avery all leave their games with concussions.
Mm-hmm. And that's just with Donnie Avery. That's rough for him, but I think it's good for T.Y. Hilton. And then it might, because he's one of the other receivers. It's kind of in the same spot as Avery. There's Reggie Wayne there. And then he's the main guy, obviously. And then there's Avery and Hilton, and they kind of split the second set of receptions there. And then so it'll probably boost T.Y. Hilton's value, and that's really all with that. I'm assuming when he gets back, they'll go back to using him again. And then with Isaac Redman, there's Dwyer and there's Mendenhall. And they
had a lot of guys, but I mean
and there's Rainey, and they keep using him. But I think Redmond would have helped a lot last night because he's more of the out of the backfield guy for the catches.
Well, if you look at what the Jets did, they've been doing terrible all year, and then they play in that game. I don't know when it was, but it was this week, and they had a ton of running backs, using all of them, moving everybody in and out, using all of their running backs, and it worked.
Yeah,
they won the game.
Yeah, and the Steelers have been
year.
Forced to do that, so I think. Yeah, that's what the Steelers were wanting to do. And then, who was the first person you said on there? Oh, Pitta. And Pitta has kind of fallen off lately anyways, and he's been inconsistent because that that Ravens offense has been inconsistent. So, yeah, I don't think that really hurts a lot of people. If you were using Pitta, there's a ton of other tight ends out there that will probably get you about the same as what he was getting you per week. All right, and then, so now we're going to just move over to the top 5 surprises and disappointments of this week. Number one, we kind of talked about a little bit, was the Jags offense against the Texans on Sunday. They looked great. Gabbert came out and threw for 4 touchdowns and 354 yards. Blackman had his biggest game.
Where did it come from?
Yeah, right. And that's the thing is he had over 200 yards on a touchdown. Cecil Shorts kept it going. Mercedes Lewis caught 2 touchdowns, and then they finally got tired. They finally found a running back that looked like he was going to do something. Well, MJD was out, and Parmel, which I don't even know the guy really, but he got 80 yards, and they ran the hell out of him, and just to keep it kind of balanced, and they almost surprised the Texans. So I don't know, that was impressive.
That's crazy.
And out of nowhere, like you were saying, yeah, that's just crazy. All right, and then my second surprise of the week is Marcel Reece, who was the fullback converted to running back there in Oakland. Who he's kind of, since McFadden got hurt, he's become the main guy in general, not just running the ball. Because against the Saints this Sunday, he was the number 1 runner with 103 yards, and he was the number 1 receiver with 90 yards. And it's just insane. He's a
good multi-purpose guy.
Yeah, and they liked him anyways. They liked giving him some passes out of the backfield. But now he's kind of just the jack of all trades there. And everyone knows McFadden is injury prone, and a lot of times when he gets injured, he stays injured. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here with him. And all right, the third one is the Texans there, like kind of focusing on this game, but this game was just such a huge surprise for multiple reasons. This next reason being Schwab, who came out and threw for 527 yards, combined with Andre Johnson.
Because I didn't start him.
Yeah, and that's the thing is they both looked like it was like going back in time, like Andre Johnson catching a ton of balls, getting a touchdown, and Schwab looking like the guy who threw for what did he throw for? He threw for a ton of yards, almost 5,000 yards a couple seasons ago, and he really is a good quarterback, and Andre Johnson's a great receiver. And I think this is one of those things that shows, hey, the Texans can pass the ball if they need to.
For sure.
And so, yeah, I think that was it was awesome that they got behind because they were able to highlight the guys who've kind of taken the back seat.
You don't want a good team to get behind and have to build their way back, but it was exciting to see it happen, and it's nice to know if they have to get behind, they can work their way back.
Yeah, and it was exciting. It was a good game. And then the fourth surprise of the week was Dez Bryant, and this is mainly just a surprise that, in the sense that he's starting to get a little bit more consistency going. He's had a good last couple games, and for whatever reason, Miles Austin was doing really well, and he's not doing awful now, but for whatever reason, Dez Bryant's kind of become the favorite target there, and he's getting double-digit catches in a lot of the games. So if you're in a PPR league, that is huge because it's just it just adds up. All those catches add up. And so I would look for Dez Bryant to keep doing this going forward as long as he stays healthy.
Hopefully he does.
Yeah. And then my fifth surprise of the week was someone we talked about a little bit earlier. With Avery out, T.Y. Hilton just excelled there in that Patriots game. He caught 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in the game. And if Avery's out, I think he's going to be the number 2 guy for sure because, like I said, they were kind of splitting that number 2 spot. But it's one of those things, too, that he's been really hit or miss. So if you pick him up, it might be like you're taking a chance and just hoping you hit the jackpot because it'll be like a 20-point game and like a 2-point game.
Fantasy's kind of like any kind of betting or poker or whatever. You got to take chances.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing is if Avery's out for any extended amount of time, I think it'd be hard to assume that T.Y. Hilton wouldn't excel. So, yeah. All right, and then we're going to move over to my disappointments, which there was, if any of you listened to us over the week, there's a lot of these are obvious ones because they're people we thought were going to do good. First one is Nick Foles, who everyone was super excited about. They're like, if it doesn't work out with Vic, we're set. We have a good backup. And then with Vic struggling, they're like, oh, I kind of hope Vic sits and we get to see Nick Foles. And Vic finally gets hurt. Nick Foles comes in, and he was awful. Like he threw for 204 yards and 2 interceptions against the Redskins defense that just lets everyone blow them up. And I think it's safe to say that Vic wasn't the problem there, as much as everyone wanted to be quick to give him that label as, hey, you're the reason.
He does have some problems that he needs to work out, of course, but
yeah,
I mean, you can't blame everything on one guy.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think it's tough because I think the Eagles are just about done. I think Andy Reid's probably just about done. And honestly, I think if Andy Reid goes, I think Vic will go. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there in the offseason if they don't.
Are they just going to have to start rebuilding or what?
Yeah, I think so because I think they've spent so much money there. They've got so many good players. And then Asamoah hasn't worked out the way they thought he would.
Why hasn't he? He was great.
I don't know. And that's the thing. The big thing with Asamoah in Oakland was he sat there and covered one guy, one side of the field, and they just wouldn't throw to that side because the Raiders spent all this money on him and didn't have anyone over here that was
so they'd automatically go to the other side because it was just weaker.
So he didn't get challenged. Now that he's getting challenged, people are realizing, for one, he's super physical.
So they can get flags.
Yeah, it's easy to draw flags against him.
Which goes back to the basketball thing. We'd rather attack the area where we can pick up fouls than attack the area where we have a player who can dominate the other player and get points.
Yeah, and
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I don't think they're necessarily doing that. I just think he's finding himself getting beat and it's surprising him, and he's just getting the flag. Yeah,
unopposed for so long that now that he does have some kind of competition, he just doesn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And then The second disappointment of the week is Reggie Bush, who I think everyone who owns Reggie Bush is still like stuck on that one game he had where he had 30 points. But he has been bad, and it looks like they're kind of starting to lean towards Daniel Thomas a little bit more, and it's just one of those things where in the last 5 weeks he's had one game in double digits, and as a running back, like a starting running back, you're supposed to be getting, and one of those he was benched, I guess, but you're supposed to be automatically getting yards and getting at least to 10 points every week to even be a halfway decent guy, and he just hasn't done it. He has that one, like I said, 30-point game that's making it still look like he's legitimate, but I think by the end of the season, he's not even going to be in the top 30 in running backs.
Well, I mean, you can't get a 30-point game and then do nothing for several weeks and then get another big game. Like, that one game is going to just tear people apart, and, I mean, whoever has that guy is going to win, but they can't stand to win one game and then lose the rest of the season.
Yeah,
because they're hoping he's going to have another good game. You have to be consistent.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100% on that. And that's the thing is, it looked like the way he ended last season and coming in those first couple of games, he looked like he was coming off that and just building on it. And then now it just looks like same old Reggie, where it's like, if you can't get him in space, he isn't going to make any big plays. So yeah, it's just rough for the Dolphins because they really looked solid and then they've kind of fallen apart the last few weeks.
So many teams this year, though, have done that. It looked just great, and you think, oh, man, they're doing awesome. Like, look at the Cardinals. They're doing great, and then it's downward spiral.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why people can get a great start and then fall apart, but I don't know. They need to figure it out. Stay with their game plan. Keep doing what they were doing at the beginning of the year.
Yep. And then my third disappointment of the week is a Raiders guy, Denarius Moore, who he was working his way up to being a consistent number 2 guy. If you had him, you were starting him every week. He was having big numbers and getting touchdowns in almost every game. And he comes out in this game against the Saints, who have been giving up huge numbers to everyone. And don't get me wrong, their defense they're starting
to look real good.
Yeah, they've started taking steps, and they're causing turnovers, but they're still giving up big plays. It's just
they're fixing it, though. I think they'll pull it together.
And then that's the thing is he only had one catch for 9 yards in this game. And I'm hoping that was he just, for whatever reason, had an off game and he bounces back. But I don't know. It's hard to say because the Raiders are in a bad spot right now. But yeah, Denarius Moore did not look like the Denarius Moore we saw in the last 5 or 6 weeks. So yeah, hopefully he bounces back. And number 4 is a guy who I gave everyone who asked me about tight ends this week, I gave him the same answer. Antonio Gates going up against the worst defense against tight ends in the league in the Broncos, and he comes out and he just does awful. Like he did almost nothing, and the Chargers still got points. Like they didn't end up getting blown out in the end. They were blown out for most of the game, and then they kind of made some stuff up in garbage time, but none of it went to Antonio Gates. So it's
weird.
It's one of those things where it's like he's looking like almost all of the rest of the San Diego Chargers and just looking to be a disappointment. And it's just a huge letdown because, like I said, they give up the most points to fantasy tight ends, and he did nothing.
When you get that big chance where you know they're going to let you get some points, you have to take advantage.
Yeah, and he should have. Like, he really should have. And then, all right, my last disappointment of the week is Matt Ryan, who I said it going into it that I thought he was going to do bad, but I didn't think he was going to. I thought he was going to do like 15 points bad, not whatever the hell he called that game. Like, he came out, he threw for 301 yards, but he had 5 interceptions.
Holy crap.
He didn't throw one touchdown, and that's with Roddy White, Julio Jones, who did end up playing, and Tony Gonzalez, and couldn't get one of those guys a touchdown. And, yeah, he just looked awful. And the crazy thing about it is that the Cardinals still found a way to lose, which it blows my mind. But, yeah.
That's another situation where you had the perfect opportunity. They just opened the door and let you walk in, and you stood on the doorstep and pouted.
Yeah.
Like, you had the chance to take control, and you didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, and they really needed to. And it's really, really disappointing. All right, and then we're right now we're going to kind of do a special Thanksgiving episode here. Well, we're doing a special Thanksgiving episode. We're going to do a special Thanksgiving segment, and it's basically we're going to go over the top 5 players you should be thankful if you own. You should be thankful if the person you're playing owns them, or you should be thankful that they're still on the waiver wire. And we'll kind of just go through this, and they're all like the people that you should be thankful you own. I think everyone's familiar with now. We'll just kind of talk about them for a minute. The first one is RG3. Yeah. Who is the 4th overall fantasy quarterback so far this season. And he's been amazing. And this is his rookie season. And that's the thing is he's a guy that I think people were high on coming into the season, but they're still like, we have got to get him a little bit later because there's no way he's going to come out and be in the top 5. Yeah, because he's a rookie.
But now, wait a minute. Look at Cam Newton, though.
Yeah.
Like, RG3 next year, what do you think? Is he going to have a Cam Newton-like slump, or is he going to continue rolling?
And that's the thing is I honestly think RG3's a better quarterback. I think Cam Newton is a better athlete. But I think it's that thing when it comes down to the pressure and these big-time moments, RG3 has stepped up. And that's the difference. RG3 is winning a few games here and there, and Cam Newton's still in his second
I'm just going to say in the battle
season.
of teeth, Cam Newton definitely has that one. He's got some pretty beautiful straight teeth. He's got those sharp canines. He looks good.
Yeah, he does.
And then RG3's got that cute little gap, which, I mean, it's not terrible, but
yeah. But that's the thing, too, is RG3 has to think about his health a little bit, too, because he's a little bit smaller. Cam Newton is a damn freight train out there.
yeah, he's a beast.
But Cam Newton's been making mistakes, and RG3 looks better and better. And RG3 has, I can't remember exactly how many games Cam Newton's won, but I think RG3 is already coming up on winning the same amount of games. And that's what makes the difference to me is RG3 has found ways to help his team win games, and Cam just hasn't. So if you're able to have got RG3 where most people got him a little bit later.
I got him.
You got him. A value pick. You should be thankful for the plethora of points RG3 has given you this season so far.
Thank you, RG3.
Yeah. and the second person you should be thankful for is Randall Cobb, who is currently the 13th overall fantasy receiver this season. And that's the thing is coming into the season, I think anyone who watches football more than just like their team and kind of pays attention to a few different games here and there, you have to see that Randall Cobb is a talented playmaker. Like he really is. He's out there. His rookie season last year, he did very well, but he didn't have a whole lot of huge games because there's just so much talent there in the Packers offense. And a lot of people are like, yeah, we see the talent, but is he going to be able to get the work to produce the fantasy points? Because that's what it's all about.
With
It's
injuries
fantasy
and everything
football.
else going on, yeah, he ends up getting the work for sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, so is James Jones. But that's the thing is, I think Cobb is the guy that when Jennings comes back, which will probably be week 16, maybe a little bit earlier, but it just doesn't look like they're going to rush him back. They're still winning games. They want him to be 100% healthy. But when he comes back, I think Randall Cobb's the one that's the least affected by it because James Jones is the fill-in, but Randall Cobb's a completely different player. They run him out of the backfield. And yeah, and I think Randall Cobb is the guy that has just taken that talent and ran with it, and he's looked great, and he's clutch. That's the thing is I haven't seen a guy on the sidelines be that excited like Jennings was for Cobb since last night, really, I guess, when Ray Lewis went crazy.
That guy's always nuts.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the
But that's the
situation.
thing
It doesn't
is-
matter if he's hurt. He's crazy.
Yeah, in that Green Bay game when Cobb caught that touchdown to make it so they were tied, and then just the extra point puts them the point over. Jennings came over, hit him, was going
Slapping
crazy
him
with
and
him because he
stuff.
was just so stoked. Because that's the thing is, and Cobb, he's amazing. And that's the thing is, so if you did get Cobb, which you probably didn't even have to draft him, you could have, unless you're in a deeper league, you probably could have just gotten him off the waiver wire. But if you did get him, you should be thankful for the lack of running game in Green Bay and a quarterback that spreads the ball around because I think he's going to finish the season very, very well.
Right.
All right, and then my third guy you should be thankful for is a Mr. Adrian Peterson, who was a huge question mark coming into the season, which I questioned him. I think Eric questioned him. Everyone questioned him, and to all those
have to,
people,
with that
I
kind of
say,
injury.
how dare you? It is Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson.
He's a machine.
No, literally, like he is a different kind of athlete. Like I can't even explain it because it's insane. 9 months, like it's just now in a couple weeks.
I don't know.
coming
I'm
up on-
scared. I'm scared to like talk him up too much. I'm like, no, he's untouchable. You can't hurt him. He's a beast. Because then, what if he does get hurt? That would just break my heart. The guy's just
Well, no, that's
he's
the thing
too
is,
good.
as I see where you're coming from with that, and that's the thing is, obviously he can be hurt. He's shown that, but the fact of the matter is that he has enough heart that it's spread throughout his body, and he is able to come back.
He is heart from head to toe.
Yeah, he really is. It's insane. I like that.
He's a
Sexy.
good guy.
Heart from head to toe. But yeah, but he came back it's barely 9 months after his injury, and he's the #1 fantasy running back right now. And that's the thing is, Adrian Peterson owners got him so late, like really, really late. I know they did because I was drafting in multiple leagues. And that's the thing is, if you have Adrian Peterson, you should be very, very thankful for his superhuman recovery time because it is awesome.
Amazing. Yep.
All right, and then my fourth guy you should be happy we should be thankful for if you have him, is Tony Gonzalez, who was overshadowed by Gronk and Jimmy Graham coming into this season.
Guess you won't have to worry about Gronk now, huh?
Yeah, well, that's cold-blooded.
That is messed up, but really? Game's over. Come out.
Yeah,
Don't be wasting time.
yeah, but but yeah, and that's the thing is he probably went a couple rounds later than those guys, and he's doing about the same fantasy production wise, and that's the thing is he's just been amazing, and everyone keeps throwing it out there. His age, Gonzalez isn't going to be productive, and yeah, and that's the thing is you've seen like he's insane out there.
Yep.
And that's the thing is I think right now he's going to continue going. He wants a Super Bowl so bad. He's going to do whatever it takes to win.
See, and that's why I think his age helps him because he's just more desperate. It's like,
Yeah.
I am getting old. I'm not going to be around as long as these guys. If I'm going to get this Super Bowl, I need to do it now. I need to work hard. I need to just play like a complete animal, and I need to pull my team together and get something going right now so I don't have to try and play when I'm 50 to try and get a Super Bowl.
Yeah, true that. And then, so if you got Tony Gonzalez a little bit later and were able to get him, you should be thankful for the fountain of youth that he has obviously found.
Somewhere.
Because he has been awesome. All right, and then my fifth guy, I guess, defense that you should be thankful for if you were able to get them is the Chicago Bears defense, who has been crazy this year. They have scored more fantasy points than any wide receiver, than any tight end, than all but 3 of the running backs.
That's ridiculous. I was just reading that off of your computer there, and I was like, no, that's wrong.
Yeah, and that's the
Sean's
thing.
messing around.
Is the only one that he is not in the top 15 in is quarterbacks, and he's still in the top 20, and it's just insane. And they have 40 more points than any other defense, and this is also without them playing this week. That were because they played tonight. So I don't know. You've seen them play. Like, have you ever seen anything like the Bears defense?
No, it's crazy.
And you're a Steelers guy.
Awesome.
You've seen some hard-hitting defenses.
I love good defenses. Good defenses just make for good, interesting football teams.
Yeah, and that's the thing is they're not just a good
Big hits
defense. They're a
and
defense
excitement.
that they hit the ball out of people's hands, they intercept it, and they score. A lot of defensive guys are happy to intercept the ball and then just go down.
And then just fall to the ground and be like, okay, well, we got the ball back. No, they capitalize, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and they have been great this year. All right, and now here's kind of the fun part for me because there's some players I'm really like, are you kidding me? And that's the top 5 players you should be thankful for if your opponent has them. First one's a guy we've talked about a lot this season, so I'll go over it kind of briefly, and that is Phillip Rivers, who has just been
Captain
awful.
Crybaby.
Yeah, and he's still owned in 80% of leagues. He's a 21st ranked quarterback. I don't think anyone should be starting him unless they're in a 2-quarterback league. And I don't know, you've seen Phillip Rivers play.
Just screaming at people, crying, looking for flags, doing anything but throw the ball. Forget about all that other crap and just work on being a quarterback.
Yep, and I agree with you fully. I don't know what his deal is, and that's the thing is you should be very thankful if you're going up against Phillip Rivers and if you're playing him in any league because he is awful. And then my second person you should be thankful for if your opponent has them is Jermichael Finley. And a lot of people are like, he had a great game this last week. Yeah, he had a great game this last week. And that's the thing is there's four passing teams that are insane, that don't focus on the run really at all and just pass. And that is the Saints, the Patriots, the Falcons, and Green Bay. The Saints have Jimmy Graham. The Patriots have Gronk and Hernandez. And the Falcons have Tony Gonzalez. And then so you would assume if you're on a team that primarily passes and you're a big tight end, the quarterback will find a way to get you the ball. And that has happened for Finley. The only thing is that every time he gets the ball, he fumbles or he drops it. And so he's choked away the perfect opportunity. And I think this game that
Isn't he the one who was complaining there's a lack of chemistry?
No, I think that's Cook that was having a lack of chemistry.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to say, take your quarterback to dinner or something. Buy him a box of chocolates. Figure that chemistry out.
Yeah, you got to get it going. It's just like a lady. You gotta pamper him a little bit. Quarterbacks are gentle creatures.
Sexy.
But yeah, I think Finley, it was a smoke screen this last game because he did have that touchdown. He did finally get some points. I wouldn't run and pick him up. If you have someone else, there's a reason you have someone else.
Give him a couple games. See if he keeps it going. Don't pick him up right off the bat.
Yeah. All right, and then my third disappointment of the week is Brandon Lloyd. One of the most talked about wide receivers coming into the season. Lloyd is a talented guy, and he's been amazing, helping every team score. So going into New England, you would assume he's going to excel, right? Wrong. He's been awful. He's not even in the top 30 wide receivers. And for whatever reason, speaking of chemistry, it is not there. Like,
at all.
He is usually that guy that's making these circus catches. Every time he has an even hard catch, he's not able to come up with it. And so, yeah, if you were playing against Lloyd this week, be thankful that the person that the opponent you're playing that has picked him up and has kept him this long is sitting there going through all those imaginary points that he believes Lloyd has got throughout the season because he just hasn't.
They're not there.
And it's a negative on his bench. So, yeah, terrible.
Sometimes, you don't fit with a specific team. Players who do great somewhere else there's just these athletic, acrobatic-looking receivers or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't work with the team, it doesn't work with the team. They can't, I don't know, even if they've done it with multiple different teams, sometimes you're just not a good fit in specific different football clubs.
Yeah, and that is very, very true. And that's the thing is Tom Brady is a very specific quarterback, and I think for whatever reason they don't fit. All right, and then the fourth one is a guy we've already talked about, Reggie Bush, who I think some of his owners are still excited about, like I said, for that 30-point game that he had in week 2. But since then, he has not had a game over 13 points, and he had 30 points then. He's barely over 90 points for the season. So just you can work it out in your head.
He had 30 points in the one game, and he's barely over 90 for the entire season.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, he's been awful, and I don't think he's going to bounce back anytime soon. So, yeah, if you're playing against Reggie Bush, just be thankful that he's just another guy now. And the owner had to go high enough to get him that he's afraid to drop him.
That makes me feel bad. Now I want him to step it up.
Maybe he will, but he hasn't proven anything yet. All right, and then the fifth, this one's a defense that you should be thankful for if your opponent has them, is the Philadelphia Eagles, who, like we just barely talked about, they acquired all that talent, and they're just doing nothing with it. They're they've gotten the fourth least amount of points.
Are they still doing the angle thing on their defense?
No, they fired that guy.
Did they?
Yeah, that defensive coordinator. But they're still.
But they still haven't figured it out.
Yeah, and they fired their defensive coordinator this year too. So it's just.
So just fire everyone. Don't give them a chance to work it out. Don't work with people. Just get rid of personnel all the time.
Well, that's why I think Reed's gone, is because I think they're done with that. The organization has put forth so much money that they're like results now. So
that's great, but sometimes it takes time to create results.
Yeah,
you got to figure out the program you're working with and the players you're working with. You can't just have automatic results immediately.
Yeah, and that's the thing is they haven't been a disappointment this year. They've been a disaster, and yeah, they're one of those guys that you remember hearing about them, so people keep them on their team, and instead of picking up a usable defense, so you should be thankful for that. All right, and we're going to go over the top 5 players. You should be thankful if they are still available on your waiver wire. Number 1 guy is a guy we've talked about, Marcel Reece, who is owned in 66% of leagues, and like we said, he's just been insane. He's had double-digit points in all three of his last 3 games, which McFadden got hurt in that first game that he had the double-digit points in. So, and with McFadden, you never know when he's going to come back. He was supposed to come back for like 6 games in a row at the end of last season, and it could easily be that again. So I think if you can get Marcel Reece, pick him up, and be thankful that you were able to get this guy off your waiver wire, because any depth at running back at this point is good depth. And then the second guy, Cecil Shorts.
Great name. Cecil.
Oh, Shorts.
My name is Cecil. I work on a diesel. That guy?
Yeah. That guy.
I dig it.
And Cecil Shorts he's owned in 43% of leagues, and he has turned into a very solid receiver. It looks like no matter who the quarterback is, he's doing well. He had a really tough matchup this week against the Texans. Still did well. So basically, if you're able to pick him off the waiver wire, you should be excited because he is nothing short of a consistent,
clever wordplay,
and
beautiful.
Of a consistent wide receiver, and he's better than a lot of other options out there. So yeah, pick up. Like I said before, only owned in 43% of leagues. And then it sounds like there's a good chance Gabbert is gonna at least miss a week. So if that's the case, go out and pick up Chad Henne. He's only owned in 2% of leagues.
2%?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He's a backup quarterback on a bad team, but he looked insane against the Texans on Sunday.
Well, yeah.
So I'd expect that number to go up a lot after the waiver wire is done on Wednesday.
How long is he projected to play? Like, how many games is he going to get?
I don't know, and that's the thing is I think if he plays well next game, I would like to think they'd let him play and then just kind of figure it out in the offseason, because I don't think they're planning on going to the playoffs. But maybe they want to keep forcing Gabbert and see if he's going to be able to turn into a guy that's going to be awesome.
If he hasn't done it thus far, maybe give Henne a chance.
Yeah, maybe. And that's what I think, too, is I think they should give him his second chance in the NFL, because he's not a young guy. So, yeah.
He played for the Dolphins, right?
Yeah, he did. And that's the thing is, if you need a quarterback at this point in the season, be thankful that Henne is trying to make a comeback and go pick him up.
Sweet.
And then the fourth guy on the waiver wire you should be thankful if you can still get is Danario Alexander, who's only owned in 23% of leagues, and he's came out and he's only been there for 3 games, but he's gotten more and more points in each game. He got the starting job after his first game, and then the last 2 games he got 19 in last week's, 20 in this week's, and he's looked great. And if you can still get him, be thankful that the other people in your fantasy league don't listen to our podcast, because I told you guys about Danario Alexander last week.
Nice.
So yeah, pick him up. And then,
so wait a minute.
Uh-huh.
Rivers is his quarterback. He's on.
Yeah, but he's the
Chargers?
only guy that's been doing good with Rivers. So I don't know.
So all right, I'm just making sure Rivers has some like windshield wipers installed on the visor of his helmet so he can wipe off the teardrops.
The teardrops.
So he can see Danario Alexander to get him some points.
Yes, dang it. All right, and then the last guy that you should be thankful if you can still pick them up is Brandon Myers, who is owned in 40% of leagues, and he's become a very reliable tight end, getting 40 to 60 yards a game, and he's now starting to have the touchdowns show up on his stat line. So if you're a Gronk owner or if you're just not happy with your tight end, go and pick him up and be thankful that the Raiders have such a inconsistent running game so that everyone there that catches balls has a chance of getting big points.
Sweet.
All right, now we're going to kind of we have one more segment we're going to do. Since we're not going to be here Thursday, we're going to do the top games of the week. We'll just kind of cruise through this because we only got about 5 more minutes. First game of the week is the Redskins at the Cowboys.
Redskins.
All right, Tino is picking the Redskins, and I actually going to go against him here. I think the Cowboys.
Wrong.
I said a couple weeks ago that I thought that they were going to bounce back and be the team in that division that goes to the playoffs.
I have receivers from the Cowboys on my fantasy team, and I'm still not buying it.
Yeah. All right, well, you're probably right. Romo didn't do what I thought he was going to do this week, but I think Cowboys. Tino thinks Redskins. Who do you think, Lane?
Yeah, I'm not fan of Romo either, but I got to go with the Cowboys as well. This one
We'll see.
time.
We'll see. That's fine.
Alright.
I'll be the black sheep. Screw you guys.
Watch Tino go 5 for 5.
Bye
on
bye,
this.
black sheep.
All right, the next game is a game I'm actually super stoked about, which is the Falcons at the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers is a team we've been talking about like crazy here because they have B-Jack, who has turned into a consistent receiver. They have Doug Martin, the muscle hamster, the one and
Muscle
only.
hamster. That's the weirdest nickname ever.
Yeah, I actually found out really
I
quick.
thought we were going to stop using that.
Yeah,
I thought
but
the world was.
But here's the
Nope.
thing: is I actually found out he got that nickname because he used to date a girl and she was just tiny, but she was a weightlifter and she wasn't like rich. She wasn't like huge, like big, bulky weightlifter, but she could lift a ton. So everyone called her Muscle Hamster. So it
And
kind
he
of
adopted
transferred
it
over
from
to
her?
being Muscle Hamster with him too.
So he stole it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is he's not with her anymore, so he super hates the nickname.
Awesome. I bet his new girlfriend or wife, whatever he has at home, is loving on that too. You
Yeah,
hear
she's-
that every time he plays.
Yeah, that would be rough. But I'm going to pick the Buccaneers in this game. I think they proved, even when they kind of played down and let a team get up on them like they did with the Panthers in the game yesterday, they still can find a way to win. And the Falcons, the last couple of weeks, the Falcons have looked very defeatable.
I mean, they still won, but they look like they're falling apart. It'll be a good game either way because the Falcons have the ability and they have the potential to play great. The Buccaneers have been playing great. Doug Martin's just awesome.
Yeah, he is.
But I don't know, you guys can't really see around the whole room in here, but here at Lane's humble abode where we do this wonderful podcast, well, I should say they usually do this, we're in a pirate ship. It is a legitimate pirate ship in
Yeah,
here,
it
so
is.
I'm going to also go with the Buccaneers just based off of the atmosphere around me and the fact that Doug Martin is great.
Yeah. What do you think, Lane?
Well, I'm biased, as Tino just pointed out. I am the Bucs fan.
Creamsicle.
Yeah, the colors they're great. They're pretty bizarre, but that's how pirates are. They're flamboyant in
Nice.
a good way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think the Falcons are kind of on a down spiral, and the Buccaneers are on an upward one. I still would have to say the Falcons are overall the better team. Obviously, I think the stats say that too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm pretty sure they're way better. But yeah, I still, regardless of all that, I'm feeling the Bucs. They're gonna bring it out.
Three-way
You're gonna
Bucks.
dome them.
Yeah. All right, and then the third game of the week
They're gonna
is
kill Hollum.
the third game of the week is the 49ers at the Saints. And we all saw what a hell of a game that was last year in the playoffs. The Saints are on an up, and the 49ers, I think, are going to be I think they're going to win tonight, and so I think they're going to still be on an up too. But I think the Saints want to make this interesting and want to have a shot at the playoffs. So I think the Saints are going to pull it out against the 49ers.
I think it'll be a great game. I'm not biased by any means. Neither one of those teams are. I don't hate or love either one of them, but they're both great teams. I'm just going to go with the 49ers just to go against what Sean's saying, just cause controversy.
All right, I like it. I like it. What do you think, Lane?
It's always beginner's luck, and since Tino's first time here, yeah, dude, it's totally 49ers, no questions.
Nice.
All right, I'm all alone on that one. All right, and then the fourth game of the week is the Packers at the Giants. And
Packers.
both Packers and Giants games were great last year, but I think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers have something to prove. So I
For
think
sure.
the Packers are going to go into New York, and I think they're going to pull that out. What do you think, Tino? Oh, you already said
Yeah,
Packers.
Packers.
What
We
do you
only got
think?
1 minute left anyway. We gotta hurry.
I really want the Giants to be good, but they've been letting me down this season. And
The Giants should be good.
they're not where I
blowing
want them
it.
to be. I have to go with what am I? I'm trying to say 49ers, but I mean the Packers.
Nice.
All right.
I'm going with Packers.
Panthers
as well.
at Eagles. Okay, both look terrible, but I would say I'll give Cam Newton one more shot.
All right, this is the Panthers and the Eagles game, and Tino is taking the Panthers. I think I'm going to take the Panthers too because the Eagles have just found ways to lose. And don't get me wrong, like Vic might be back and he might make a point to prove that he's still the man there, but I got to go Panthers. What do you think, Lane?
I'm going Eagles. They've been doing bad, but I like them too much. I want them to do good too bad. Then I
Alright.
gotta root for them.
Nice.
All right, and that's our top 5 games of the week. Once again, this is Tino here. He's my little brother. As
Thanks,
always,
guys.
we're Fantasy Top 5. Thanks for joining us. We will be back on Monday, hopefully with Eric. He will be traveling back towards us, I think.
He'll
early
be coming
Monday.
off the injury.
He'll be coming off.
Yeah,
the
we're
bench.
hoping
He's
that
probable.
he is fully
He's all
healthy.
healed up. We got him in an ice bath. He's set.
Yeah. All right, yeah, so thanks for joining us. Like we said before, you can find us at Fantasy Top 5 on Twitter, www.fantasytop5 for our website, and then Lane's going to put all those up on the Justin TV page. But yeah, you can find us basically anywhere. Just type in Fantasy Top 5. Thanks for joining us. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you guys for letting me be here, by the way. I love you guys.
Yeah, it was a
I
pleasure
love you,
having you.
Eric.
Thanks
we
for
miss you.
filling in.
Did good.
All right, we're Fantasy Top 5. Peace.
Peace, yo.